Hey guys, Jordan here, and today I'm going to be doing another deck tech video. And this time I'm going to be talking about my Phantasmal Zoo deck. This is the deck that I used to get to Legendary. As you can see, currently ranked 253, try to get to top 100 this season. But yeah, I'm just going to go over the cards and how I use them. There are a few tech cards that I use in this deck that are a bit different than the normal standard Zoo. So yeah, let's get into it. So first of all, got double Soulfires. Of course, gotta use those Soulfires. 0 mana for 4 damage. Really good card. You can kill off a lot of stuff, like a 5 mana Azure Drake. So you can pick off a lot of minions efficiently, especially if you have no cards left in your hand, or if you manipulate your hand so that you discard something that you do not need. So far is good for that, and it can also push over for that extra 4 damage you need to end the game. Since Zoo is typically an aggro deck, it controls the board in the early mid game and tries to aggro the opponent down before they could get into their late game cards. Then we play 2 Argent Squires. It's a great 1-drop. Later on in the game, you could combo it up with your Defender of Argus to make it a 2/2 taunt with Divine Shield, which will value up to like 4 damage. So Argent Squire is really good. It's very annoying, especially the Divine Shields in general are just really annoying. Then I tech in 1 Elven Archer. Some people do this, some people don't. I do like the Elven Archer because I'm not playing Mortal Coil, and the reason why I don't like Mortal Coil is because you don't get any extra board presence. You're trading you're killing off a minion potentially to draw 1 card, so you're cycling through. Whereas Elven Archer is a bit more flexible. You play a minion on the board, it could kill off something, or it could do an extra point of damage to your face, which could make a difference. And you could, because it is a minion, you can buff it up with cards like Defender of Argus, Shattered Sun Cleric. My Zoo deck in particular has a lot of buffing minions, which will help give you more efficient, better trades, and give you more of an advantage in the game. Then we play 2 Flamants. Again, it's a really great card to have, especially on turn 1. If you drop a Flamant turn 1, it's normally really good, gets good value. 3/2 for 1 mana is pretty good. The 3 damage that you take is not that important. It would be later on if you're not careful. If you just play this on, and then your opponent's playing an aggro deck, or they have some kind of combo that could burst you down, then you do have to be careful about that 3 damage cost. But otherwise, it's just a really good card. Then I play 1 Shield Bearer. Some people like to play 2, some people don't like to play this at all. I do like this card because it helps protect your minions early on, and you can buff it up with your Wolf, Sun Cleric, and Argus. So it's just a really big body, and you can buff it up so it could do damage and get value on its own. Otherwise, it's just soaking up 4 damage. And I only like to use 1 because I find that having 2 is kind of like a dead card. You're just playing it and it soaks up 4 damage, but that's about it later on in the game when you're just top decking. So having this on early to help get a stable board when you buff it up is just really good. So that's why I just like 1. Then we play 2 Voidwalker. It's pretty much a better version of Shield Bearer. You drop this down, protects your minions, you can buff it up, and it's a taunt. So yeah. Then we play 2 Young Priestess. I like to have Young Priestess over Blood Imp, and I just like Young Priestess overall because it's a 1 mana card. It's going to guarantee buff one of your minions by 1 health, and if you have only 1 other minion on board, it's going to guarantee buff that one, so you can manipulate the RNG that way. And if you play it right, you could get a lot of value off your Young Priestess, and it's better than Blood Imp, especially because it could do the extra 2 damage. You can buff it up to get even more stronger. Then we play 2 Amani Berserkers. I really like this card because it's a 2 mana for 2/3 toughness. The 3 toughness is very good for 2 mana, and if it gets enraged and your opponent can't deal with it, then it can swing for a lot of damage. So it's just a really annoying, powerful card, especially on turn 2. Your Direwolf Alpha is really good. You have to run 2 because it buffs up all your other minions, which could help you get better trades or push for more damage. And you gotta make sure you play your Direwolf correctly. So placing them beside the right minions, trade, and then having your next minion move along to it so it gets more damage. So just make sure you play with your wolf efficiently and to the best as possible. Then we play 2 Knife Jugglers. A lot of times I don't keep this in my early game hand. Depending on the matchup, say if I'm going against a rogue and I go second, I coin into a Knife Juggler, they could easily just backstab it. So Knife Juggler is a really good card because it could get you a lot of extra damage and value. So you want to use it at the appropriate time, play it down, and then try to be sure that you could drop down extra minions after it so you get those knives down. Otherwise it won't be worth it because it's a really high priority target and it normally won't last 1 turn. Unless you're super far ahead. And then my biggest tech in this deck is Millhouse Mana Storm. This card almost sees no play in any decks because of the Battle Cry, which makes all enemy spells cost 0 their next turn, which could really make them win the game if this card's not played correctly. This card is exceptionally good in the mirror match, Zoo vs Zoo, because in Zoo locks, the only spell they're going to have is maybe Mortal Coils and Soulfires. So by having, if you know you're playing against a Zoo lock and you play Millhouse Mana Storm on either like turn 2 or something, the other Warlock's only option is to Soulfire to kill it off. If they do not have a Soulfire, then they're just going to be losing a lot of value. Millhouse is going to be trading like 2 minions at least or swinging for a lot of damage. And even if they do Soulfire, they're going to be using 2 cards because Soulfire discards 1. So it'll be costing 2 cards to just kill your 1. So overall, Millhouse is really good value for that. Against other matchups like Mage, Druid, Rogue, you really have to be careful with it. You got to... It's really, Millhouse is more for more higher skill players, because if you could keep track of what your opponent played, like say you're against a Druid and you know they use both of their swipes, for example, and you know that they don't have that many spells left, or if their hand is really low in count and you don't expect to see any more spells, then playing Millhouse is good because 2 mana for 4/4 is a really good body. So if you're sure that Millhouse will be safe and your opponent won't just play all their spells to win the game, then all means play it down and it'll get you pretty far. Then I played 2 Harvest Golems, one of my favorite neutral cards, 3 mana. It's a 2/3 body. It's really sticky because of its death rattle, so it's really hard to get rid of. It could get good value in trades, and it could just be really annoying for your opponent. Now Shattered Sun Cleric again is not played in all Zoo decks, but I do like playing this card because getting that extra 1/1 on one of your minions could mean it could trade maybe 2 minions, it could trade a bigger minion, or it could push that extra damage because a lot of times in this deck every damage counts. So getting that extra 1/1 is really good. If you find that you have to play this card on its own without the Battle Cry, then you're just falling behind. But playing this to buff up on your minions to get good trade is really good for you. I love these, and again I got another buffing card, Dark Iron Dwarf, 4/4 for 4 mana, and it buffs up a minion by 2 attack, which can help push damage or push through a minion. Again, like the Shattered Sun Cleric, the Wolf and the Argus, buffing up your minions can mean that your minion potentially gets 2 for 1 or extra damage, which could push for game. So having that extra damage all the time is always nice. Then we played 2 Defender of Argus, probably one of the best neutrals in the game, probably the best rare for sure. Playing it down in between 2 minions or even 1 minion is really good. It gets you the extra 1/1, which means you could trade for, again, you could trade for maybe 2 for 1, push for a bigger minion, and that taunt is good against if you're going against other aggro decks, especially if you put the taunt in between like your Argent Squire or your Harvest Golem, which is really hard to get rid of. So the Defender of Argus just puts in the extra value, extra protection, and yeah. Then we play Leroy Jenkins. This is one of your finishers, 4 mana, 6 damage. Most of the time you're going to be playing it to end the game. If you're really far ahead, I do play this card earlier and then clean off the whelps with other minions and then try to get at least 2 attacks with Leroy, because you're not playing cards like Power Overwhelming and stuff. If you could play Leroy without any consequences, or if you have nothing else to do and you clean the whelps, then playing Leroy is absolutely fine. Now Doom card is the last card to fill out this deck, and this is probably one of the most broken cards ever because 5 mana you get a 5/7 body. Sure, you do have to discard 2 random cards, but because your deck is full of low cost cards, you just drop all your hand. You don't want to keep conservative. You're going to play as much as possible, and then once your hand's low, you drop your Doom card, and then swing for 5 charge. Try to get more. This guy could trade for like 2 or 3 minions most of the time, or it could swing for like 5 to 10 damage usually. Especially if you buff it up and stuff, it's really nice. The only bad thing is when you open up with like 2 Doom cards and you have to discard the other, which sucks, but that's part of the RNG factor of this game. So to play this deck, I will have a gameplay video of this deck later on, but basically what you want to do is keep a very nice tempo. Try to saturate your mana as much as possible every turn. Play as much as you can every turn. Try to overwhelm the board. You want to control the board by trading minions that are valuable. If your opponent drops, say, like a Harvest Golem, then you don't have to attack it. You could just go for face, because you do want to, in the end, aggro your opponent down so they lose. So you just want to kind of get the really nice board presence, good board control, trade if you have to, trade for priority minions, and then play aggressively, buff up your minions to get better trades. And again, most of the time is mainly about your tempo and how you control the board. Try not to get bored. Try to play around board clears, which say like if you're playing against the Druid, try to keep your minions over 1 health, and for example. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This deck is quite easy to use. The only technical parts are, I would say, would be like the Wolf, the Knife Juggler, depending on your order, your placements. How you buff your minions, what you trade for, when to tap to keep card advantage. Usually, if you have a lot of health during around turn 6 or so, where you could tap every turn, then you're pretty far ahead. And yeah, that's my deck. This is how I got to Legendary. I found that I played around with around an 85% win ratio. Has a very good matchup against mirror match zoos. Rogues kind of have trouble with if they have good blade flurries, but most of the times you're fine. It's good against Druid, Mage, Shaman. You don't see that much Shaman, but this deck beats that. So I haven't really found any hard decks that this has problems with. Most of the time you're good as long as they don't get really lucky with board clears, or say like if Druid opens up with an Innervate, Keeper of the Grove kills one of your minions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching, guys. I do have a Hearthstone deck listing with pretty much all I said in the description, so you could go check that out. Subscribe, go check out my Twitch page, twitch.tv/TheJordude, and I will be playing some of this deck on stream, and I will probably film some gameplay too. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you guys next time.